Okay, so I'm going to do some 2x2 walkthrough solves just to show how I approach 2x2. I'll have you, my typical times are 6 and 7 seconds, depending on um, um, the PBO step, and that's usually what decides whether I get 5, 6, or 7. And a lot of times I get luckies that are like 2.5 and stuff. So yeah. Okay, so this, by the way, is also a tutorial for Ortega. So, sorry, I'm just trying to get the best angle here. This should be good. So the first thing I look for is, I look for a bar. So if I look around, I see I've got a bar here, a bar here, bar here, and that's it. So after I find a bar, what I want to do is, I also am looking for a bar with connected pieces. And in this case, this bar is connected. So that means we have a choice of 2 good bars now, because they have 2 connected pieces. Because if you solve the first layer, then you'll have one of 2 PBL cases, and I'll show you that in a minute. So, in this case, I can see white would be a great choice, because when we have a situation where you have this one facing up and one adjacent to it, oftentimes it can end up being an easy case, and sometimes it can be a bad case. But unfortunately in this case it's a bad case. So let's go ahead and look at purple really fast. This is a great case here. So we can see we have a purple here and a purple here. So if we look at the way this is oriented, this is an easy move to get here. We just do a U, R, and it will put that into place. But is there a way we can get both of these in at the same time? Yes, there is. And so we can see if we bring it right here and bring it in, we can get this into a position where we can hook them up and bring them down. So we can just move the top over here into the position where we're going to put that in, bring it down, and then line these up and bring it down. It's a little bit confusing, but it is mostly intuitive. And then we would move on to that and that. Oh, oops, sorry. Okay, so a lot of times you'll have a good case where you'll have 3 of these lined up, and you don't need to solve the first layer since we're using Ortega. In this case, we have a piece that's right above where it needs to go. So this is where we need to practice look ahead. So after a lot of experimenting, you can figure out where the pieces move after just a series of 3 moves here. So in this case, we see that we're going to get a we're going to get a soon or anti-soon case, because we can see we can have 1. So if we do this, oh sorry, yeah, I looked at that wrong. This will end up being downward. So if you just look at the way these red pieces are going to interpret or be moved, then we can figure it out. So if we do the move, we get the non-symmetrical cross, and easy case. A lot of this is really intuitive, and you have to really kind of figure it out on yourself over practice. Yeah. So, let's say we have a case where there are no... We're going to pretend like this case there are no bars, which there are a lot of bars here. Okay, so we'll pretend there's no bars. Say you're stuck with this, where you have diagonals. Now, unfortunately, this is a lot tougher than just having a bar. So we look around and we see that we have a yellow right above the position in which it goes. So we can put that in, and we want to be tracking this piece. And then to get this piece into a good position, we're going to put it in relation to the bottom piece that's not solved, so that when we bring it up, we can make a bar and bring them down. and then okay, so one quick thing I want to show you is I'm going to do one more example here. Okay, so obviously if you're color neutral, this will be very easy stuff. If you're not, being color neutral on 2x2 is imperative to get good times. So, okay, so I'm gonna make a quick cross here, or a quick layer. You can see here we can just move this down to get it into position, but this is actually latched on. So if we move it down, this is in a bad orientation spot. So before we move this down, we're going to move it out of the way, move this down, and bring that into place. Okay. So what if a lot of times you'll get a case where you have none of these you'll solve the bottom layer, but none of these line up. In fact, they will all be opposite colors. A way to make this so that they're all lined up is to do an R2, B2, R2, and they'll line up. So you can also do an R2, F2, R2. I just prefer the B. And then you move on to this, and my forgotten case. Sorry, I actually forgot that case in the process of learning some other algorithms. So I'll do one more. Go over some last tips. I'm trying my best to explain this, but it is very intuitive. It's after about a week's worth or so of practice. Okay, so in this case, we look around for bars, and there's not a whole lot to work with here. Well, there always is, but so in this case, we're just gonna have to move this down into position and move that in place and bring it down, and then. I oftentimes actually skip the step of aligning all these because a lot of times when you go to your PBL, it will be an easy case. It will either be this case or you'll get a very nice case where you just have to do R2, B2, R2. So that's one reason sometimes I don't solve that. Now, I was talking about if you solve the first layer, you'll know what algorithms you'll have, and that's very true. So I'll show you. In this case, we can line up these green, and then do the algorithm to make all the first layer line up. So do that. So now that we solved the first layer, we're gonna have one of two algorithms. We'll have the adjacent swap, or we'll have the diagonal swap, because there's nothing else possible. So that's something you can always be looking forward to. And for me, the adjacent swap is my fastest algorithm, and the diagonal is my slowest algorithm. So I usually go for the risk and go for my fast algorithm. A tip when doing OLL is just to do view moves until you figure out what you have and put it into place. And then here we have the adjacent swap. So yeah. If you solve the first layer, you know that you're going to have one of two algorithms, and you can look ahead even further when you're on your OLL to know what that algorithm will be. So I hope this helped. I know it's kind of hard to explain, but I did my best to explain it. And if you have any comments, please put them below. And thanks for watching.